Hello, hello, and welcome back to Games My Guy podcast, the esports podcast by fans for fans. My name is Patrick Aches Avery Kenny, and I'm joined by the lovely Ethan Doc Goose Butler to talk a little bit about Week 24 of the Overwatch League. It's been an interesting week of shenanigans, but how are you feeling, Goose? What's new with you?
Patrick, I'll tell you this. Things have been okay, but not many of my teams are like thriving, I would say.
I yeah
It's been
that
a rough
that I
go.
would not say that at all. Actually, yeah,
I was trying to be nice, but
yeah.
I'm wearing a jersey, but I don't know how good I feel watching their games. They're not uprising too much, let's just say.
No, that's fair. Yeah, it was a week of, or it was a weekend of three O's pretty much. And
It was.
Boston got the short end of the stick both times against the Valiant and the San Francisco Shock. So, kind of a rough weekend for you, my guy.
Man, they got beat. No offense to Super. I love Super. I think we all love Super. What a guy. What a Chad. He's benching 250, 3,700 foot vertical leap. You know how it is.
Yeah.
But he's a main tank, you see. And the main tanks are delightful people. I'm talking to one right now. But the man was playing Genji, and they got destroyed by this man. Like, I just, there's something is wrong in this city of Boston, okay? More than one thing, and things need to be fixed. I'm fed up. Punk is fed up. That boy just tweeted what a fucking joke after the Valiant game. The players are mad. I'm mad. The fans are mad. But you know what? We are loyal fans. We're not going anywhere, but we want to be happy too. We deserve happiness. That's what I
Yeah.
say.
Of course, of course. And I think we should start with the biggest topic of the weekend, which was Super on the Genji going
He
into
was
the
a god.
Boston going into the San Francisco Shock game. He was very, very good. And when I watched it, because I had to see it.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I had no idea that they had tried everyone out in the gaming house and was like, "Oh, Super's the best Genji." I just thought they were like, you know what? It's a Boston Uprising game. Super's been asking. I don't know. He might have been asking to play
oh,
Genji.
let me tell you this. He was badgering Krusty for days. He was messaging Krusty on my Discord. Hey Krusty, can I play Genji and Scrims tomorrow, please? Krusty, come on, everyone's like clamoring for it. Guys, come on, calm down. I'll ask him. Guys, Krusty, please. The fans want me to play Genji. He's like showing clips from his stream in like Discord.
He's like auditioning.
And Krusty was like, fine, we'll give you one block tomorrow or something like that. And then Super's like, I'm in, boys. And then he got
Huzzah.
the starting lineup beside Striker. The thing is, if you watch that game, yeah, Super played well. Striker did like all of the work, but Super got the clout.
Well, yeah,
Striker,
of course. Of course. How else was that going to happen? You know what I mean? Like there was no way that Super was actually going to be producing most of the damage. He was going to be requiring his teammates for that. But
yeah,
yeah, I agree. Striker did a lot of fucking work on that game, man.
like Striker came in. It's like one of those scenes from the movies, like the where the sidekick will come in, maybe beat shit, kill everybody, and the main guy comes in like flips someone in the face and they fall down, and he's like, "Look what I did." It's a great time.
it
I am the man.
it's
I
the
did it. Me.
yes, it's the classic. I try to open up a jar and then you hand it to someone else and they open up in one go kind of scenario. Classic, classic.
It
But
made
it
me think of Sailor Moon. I think it's was it the mask? The
yes,
guy tuxedo mask, and he
tuxedo
just like,
mask.
when my work here is done, and then just you didn't do anything, didn't I? And then just leaves. That's a Super
Just
Bowl. The man,
floats away into the
well, the
outer
man
space.
will like since they picked up another like big news for the Shock as well, picking up Teo from Third Impact, and like so Super's probably never going to play Genji again. That man exists in the Overwatch League record book as having 100% win rate on Genji in the Overwatch League.
Yeah, that was his swan song. It was just for
Sorry,
him.
Chipsa. Three maps is better than one. Let's go.
Yeah. And I mean, like he was very good, and he's on a very, very good team. I'm just
Yeah.
curious to see what would happen if they were to play. Oh, I don't know, the Paris Eternal with Super on Genji.
Oh,
Would it be as dominant, or
by
would it be
Sparkle's own
laughable?
admission, um, on Twitter, Sparkle tweeted out, he's like, "Super Genji better than me."
That's
As a
what he
joke.
said.
Well, I know it doesn't need to be said, but I will say it as a joke. He said
Of
this.
course, in
It
jest.
doesn't need to be said because he's Sparkle.
Hmm.
But I think you're right. Like obviously, they go up against Boston is the bottom team. Like, I'm a big Boston fan. They're my number one team. I love these boys, but they're not playing well. There's like zero coordination between them. They didn't protect Myunbon like at all. Like that boy got like bullied, especially in the Valiant game. But and so it's not exactly like, oh yeah, Super Genji looks amazing. Super played like a competent Genji essentially. He looked, yeah, we call him a god. We say he's amazing. He played well for like surprisingly well to be honest, and
Yeah.
that's really all they needed him to do for this game because they were doing open tryouts. They were signing Teo. He's already in the house to be honest, and playing Genji and
Yeah,
scrims.
that was one
And
of the
so
quickest pickups to getting them into the house that I've ever seen.
people were more confused because I think he tweeted out that he was flying somewhere, but because Teo is Japanese American, but he has like I think he has dual citizenship,
Right.
so the visa issues are non-existent, and he was already in the U.S. because he took a risk back in the Contenders and he flew and started living in NA to play when he was playing with Third Impact, so he was already here,
Cool.
and so that worked out. He was obviously it was like the three top prospects from NA Contenders were definitely like Only God, Kevster, and Teo, and now those three have all been signed to the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
And so that's
I mean,
yeah, that's probably
it,
a pretty good decision.
yeah, and if he didn't take that risk coming over in Contenders, we might be looking at a very, very different situation for him getting picked up, especially with, all the flight restrictions going on and
Mm-hmm.
people not getting work visas to come over.
Yes.
So it's pretty
Whew.
crazy. But I mean, San Francisco Shock is just building an armory. I picture it like Iron Man walking through his suits of armor that are all
They're all
like
just
different equipped. Yeah, like that's
like
what the Shock house looks like to me. And they just
Preston's just
added,
got a giant warehouse and like the players are all just hanging there like coats.
yeah,
And you're like, oh, what do we need for this week?
like the
We'll
doors in
super off.
Monsters Inc.
Yeah, they just presses the button, the starting sets roll out.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they're all amazing, and apparently it doesn't matter where you put them; they're gonna nail it anyways. Proven
That's what I
with the Super
said in
Genji.
my because the Titans, my team that I write about as well. Too, I talked about a lot of teams, but I write about the Titans, and
Yes.
Titans play the shot this week, and so that's one of the things I mentioned when I was talking about like how do you beat the shot, and I said, well, it's really you can't. There's not really a one reason. There's not one way you can do it, like because the shot's weakness, and I say in air quotes, was that they didn't really have like a Genji in a Genji meta, and that barely slowed them down. So like, and now that they picked up someone who can play Genji, like they have, I'd said like a top three player at each position, and so, and they're incredibly adaptable. Like they're
Yeah.
super, like you can't really throw them off. Maybe you'll throw them off for like maybe a point, and then they'll switch one thing, and then fuck you,
It's done. It's settled.
it's over.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a tough challenge for any team facing the Shot. I think the Shot is still, in my eyes, the number one team in the league. People may argue with me, say like Charge, Paris, Shanghai, etc. Philly can have some fun too, maybe. But and then we know our good friend Larry, who we play with a lot, is a big Philly fan. So I won't say too many things about Philly, or else he'll kill me in game next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Trying to keep some friends.
yeah, but it's gonna be tough for any team to compete with Shot, I think, and they're just getting better and better.
That's true. That's true. And I mean, there were a lot of games that kind of proved a lot of dominance. And I think we should start talking about some of the Toronto games because
We have to.
there's a lot to go into those. And I mean, with going up against the Washington Justice and then Paris Eternal, you see two very different Toronto teams. You
Mm-hmm.
see us dominating in a mirror, and then you see us not doing very well at all in a mirror. So
Yes.
I mean, in the Washington game, it was a lot about letting Agilities do his thing and playing the meta towards like honing in Genji's powers that Agilities can get. And it was really, really good, man. It was a really, really good game.
It was nice to see because I was interested to see how they do starting out this week. They're coming off a good performance in the Summer Showdown. The semifinal finish, top four, technically speaking, if you want to say it in an A. And so they need to they should beat teams like the Justice. The Justice at this time really only have one look, and it's enable Tuba to do things. If Tuba is not able to do things, the Justice suffer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like Roar is not. I'm gonna be a little blunt. Roar's not look great, and then apparently he doesn't play any Overwatch outside scrims, and even before as the game was ending, dude was on his phone on his camera. Roar doesn't give two shits, and so like I'm not saying that's a joke, obviously, but like, and so Toronto should be beating these teams, and they look good. It was like I said, like Beast said in the interview after the game that their plan was to run a counter dive because the Justice were most likely to be running a dive. What happened was both teams ended up kind of running that counter dive.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So it was a lot of very war of attrition. Whoever's going to blink first.
Yeah, it got very, very slow. Like the style of play got so slow.
Yeah, and so Toronto just happened to be better at dealing with it, and it looked better. Still, Numlock handled things well in that one. And they subbed in Beast, which was surprising. I was like, I told you though, I think the last week I said, you listen to me, Patrick.
You did.
Beast
yes.
is going to be played at some point. I don't know when, I don't know why, but I just have a feeling Beast is going to get some playtime. I messaged you that day. I was like, what did I tell you?
I couldn't believe it. They both looked very similar. Like they both looked very, very good.
Beast Ryan bodied Roar. Like his shatters got way more impact, and Toronto was able to follow up on them way better than the Justice was. And so they got a lot of value out of Beast Reinhardt. And so that kind of leads you to be you're going to take the win if you can get more value out of your tanks like that.
Yeah, and it seemed like Toronto kind of was on a lot of comfort picks for themselves. Like, I mean, you had Kriv on Zen, you had Beast on Rhine. Like, it looked very practiced, and it looked very, very comfortable. And there weren't really a lot of huge hiccups against Washington.
No, like they got Surefour in there running the Sombra, and that. It's nice to see Surefour back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I think Logis is probably still their best player, but it's still just nice to see Surefour get some playtime, as he's very good, and he struggled a little bit on point one, but like that's well. He was I think it was well. And really else he couldn't really get in there to get the hacks.
Yeah,
but
the team woke up after that map. That was really rough to watch. That
I couldn't watch it live initially because I was at work, and so I checked in and I saw Justice winning, and I was like, oh no. And then I checked back in like 10 minutes later and they won the map. I was like, oh yay.
Oh well, good, I guess.
Woohoo.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant. I mean, 3-0 speaks for itself. But this whole weekend was riddled with 3-0s, literally riddled. And 3-0s feel like they should be very difficult to obtain, but some of these teams are just so much better, at least on the day, than the other teams.
Yeah. And I don't know what's happening in scrims, but this week was whatever happened in scrims for some of these teams did not happen on the day.
Yeah, and going into the Paris-Toronto game, I was expecting that this was the game that Toronto had prepped for the most. I thought that's the game that they would be worried about more. Great that we got a 3-0 against Washington, but Paris is the real matchup that we had to look at for week 24.
Yeah.
And I mean, the 3-0 was pretty disappointing. It wasn't it wasn't like I couldn't believe it. But it was pretty one-sided all the way out until Havana. But even Havana was kind of rough. Yeah,
the first point I was actually very enthused by, like the first Natalie Zhang.
Yeah.
Because they got stomped on the first one, and then when we went to the interior, and I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. and they brought it to a 99.99, and they almost won it. They just couldn't like clutch it out. Like there was so many times they had the win so many times, and they just couldn't find it. Like, they just couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah.
They couldn't like kill Humble on the ball. They just couldn't get away with things. They couldn't stop the sound barriers and shit from coming in. They just couldn't. They couldn't do it. So I was like, you know what? That's actually not too bad. That's enthused. That's an enthused performance, considering how well Paris did in the Summer Showdown, and they're the reigning champs.
Yeah.
Map 2, though, man. Again, I was at work for part of this. I watched map 1, and then I feel like I blinked, and then map 3 was happening.
Yeah, honestly, Anubis was really rough. Like there's not a whole lot of team fights that I remember us winning, and there was Surefour was trying to do some of the Sombra stuff, but it just really was too slow. It felt like these were two teams that were on completely different speeds.
Yeah,
and it really showed in the ult economy. I mean, I'm pretty sure Cruz didn't even get his ultimate for the final push on their first set in the defense, and like it was just not even close. It wasn't even close.
No, it was not. And I've watched it a few times since, and Sparta was a beast. Let's just put it that way. The whole team's looking really good, and I think one of the main things that helped them get the win wasn't just Sparkle, though. I think came down. I hate to say it, but the main tank difference. Like Ben Best was rolling over Beast, not alone, obviously, but like if you watching the game, if you watch a Ben Best POV, that he just walked forward and just shit on the other team. Like it's like his face was like a Greek myth for like being scared of things. It's like so handsome that they couldn't handle it. And so I don't know, like Ben Best he's so good this year. Like he's improved so much. And he made Beast, it wasn't a good showing for Beast if you're comparing to Ben Best. Like Ben Best made him look not ready for this.
Yeah, and I would argue that putting Numlocked in, you'd probably get a very similar result.
Yeah.
Like I just think they're both okay. They're not the star quality that you need to be though sometimes.
That's the thing with Toronto. Like they have some pieces that are good, and I think they will make changes in the off season. I'm not saying everyone should go. I think most of the team is fine, but they need to lock in the head coach. And if they've got that guys who we talked about last week, I believe Spazzo,
yes,
and if he starts delivering continuous good results and he has experience being a head coach, maybe promote this man and like let him have the reins of the team and build the team he wants. He's clearly very smart. He has tried and true experience.
Yeah.
And so they need a concrete head coach. And for me, it would be a flashier tank line. We'll talk more about this when the time comes, but I'm not hating on the Toronto tank line. I think they have some great performances. It's just, are they the tank line that's going to win you a championship?
Yeah, and that's something that with the caliber of players that we have on Toronto, and because they've been underperforming so much based on the eye test and who they have on their team, it's really begs the question, what do they need to change to be these top teams and be able to beat these top teams, or even get a map off of some of these top teams would be nice sometimes. So I don't disagree with you. I think maybe a tank lineup difference would be something that they might benefit. And
that's not saying it would work entirely. Sorry to cut you off. It's more just, I think, like, it's really hard to say, to be honest, because they're still even early days with Numlock. But all season, it seems like there's been like inconsistency at the position.
It's true,
and that can happen, but that can't happen if you're wanting to win a championship.
Yeah, and like hero bans can mess up a lot of things, but we were on a hero-less ban we were on a banless system for a very long time, and we still had pretty negative results going out of that. So I think you're right, but changing the team is definitely one way to go. But then you look at a team like Houston Outlaws, who have just incubated their main tank Hydration into becoming, a very comparable and not the worst main tank in the league.
No, exactly. So there's arguments against what I'm saying. Of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. But I, I
100%.
mean, I mean, it are is Beast and Numlocked the tanks for Toronto going forward?
Time will tell. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like we could be. I'm not trying to be too harsh because I really like them as people, and they've had some outstanding performances. To be quite honest, like Beast has had some crazy good performances on the Ryan, the Winston, etc. Numlock's looked great when he's played the Orisa and the Winston as well. And like, Numlock is good at all the tanks. To be quite honest, he's not bad at any of them, and he's a good leadership figure for the team. But I guess we'll see. The Nets. This tournament will be really telling for what the team's going to look like. I think moving forward. And so there's still a chance for them to really come into their own. It's just it hasn't happened quite yet. Will it happen? Maybe. We don't know. We're simple people.
Who
But we
knows?
like to think it could happen.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
again, they didn't look bad. Like this is like a 1-1 weekend is not anything to scoff at. You're riding that 50% line. You beat the team you should have beat. You kind of got destroyed by one of the best teams in the league. Shit happens. Paris has beaten teams with a way better records than Toronto.
yeah.
It's
I'm
not anything to be overly ashamed of.
yeah. I'm just glad we came out with a win against a team that we should win against, and I think
Yes.
you said that perfectly. Yeah. But there was, other than the 3-0s that happened this week, there were some exciting games. Not too many.
Oh yes.
But there were some surprising ones. I mean, the
Can you
Hunters.
say, yeah, a couple reverse sweeps, my friend.
The Hunters NYXL game. Not even the casters knew what was going on in this game. No one really understood who was hitting who, and it was just the most brawly, divey game. I could not understand what was happening.
I've never seen Wolf so happy. No, not even happy, but just bewildered.
Yes.
Like he was just so confused, and like he was casting with ZP, which also like Achilles is great, but ZP and him also had some weirdly good chemistry, and so they were just both like they constantly saying to each other like, Wolf, I don't understand what's going on. And yes, GP, this is not like Apex. But it's different. I don't know what's happening. Ha ha ha! And then he was like laugh.
Yeah, very good impersonation, by the way.
I listen to Wolf sometimes, and like I feel like I know him.
Yeah,
but no, that was one of my favorite games. Yeah, this weekend was Chengdu versus NYXL. I hate to hate on NYXL sometimes. Sometimes people who support them are a little whoa. But so and I love the players at NYXL. I think they have a lot of talent, but just how can you not be just supremely entertained by a fucking Chengdu just doing Chengdu things, and somehow it works. It's been happening for 2 years now. There's no logical explanation for why this works.
Yeah, I've said this once, and I'll say it again. I think it's the biggest meme, but also the best thing ever that Chengdu has backed a ball main as their main tank in a Meng. I think it adds flavor. I think it adds spice to the league. I think when you go to a Hunters game, you're going to get some like crazy comps and crazy compositions. Yeah. And
they ran Farah.
Yeah, and NYXL was ready for the challenge. Like they were ready to play these crazy compositions. Yeah. But I agree with Hunters is my favorite APAC team in that region. 100%. They're amazing.
They're one of my favorites too. I think it's either them or Spark for me, but I do like me some Spark because Gushui is one of my favorite main tanks. But the Hunters, like you said with the main, what a god! Like it doesn't make he just sub. What happens when they sub him out? They just lose. They fall apart. No offense, 18, but just I'd rather watch them fail with a main and then fail with 18. And so like just a main's at least goofy.
Yeah.
And like you can just be entertained by like NYXL's such a good team too, and I don't know what happened. Like they dominated the first 2 maps. Like it wasn't even close. And then all of a sudden they just got brutalized. And like Amanda was bullying Nene on as ball, and then it was Sombra. Like that, I don't know what happened there. Like I was watching the game, like the casters were. I didn't understand. I was like, wait, why is he's over there now? But how is he not dead? Like he's just been like How is a man not dead? I think I said that
Yeah.
just so many times. And like, what a hoot! What
Yeah.
a hoot of a game.
Yeah. Like, and
I
I'm
mean,
pretty
not if you're
sure.
an NYXL fan. And NYXL fans, I sympathize. I am a Boston fan. I'm not trying to say NYXL is like Boston. They're obviously a
Mhm.
way better team right now. But as a fan, I'm used to these type of games happening to my team. And so learn from me and move on. It's going to happen. And just go move forward. It's like that James Franco meme, like first time, but
Yeah.
just you'll be
Well,
okay.
and I think like this is definitely a game that NYXL expected to win, but in
Yes.
all reality, like Chengdu is pretty much out of playoff contention at this point. So
Yeah.
it moves the chains a little bit, but at
Hmm.
least this wasn't like a loss to, I don't know, like the Dragons or London or something like that.
Yeah, that's a bit different. Like that
Yeah.
could really hurt you. Yeah, the playoff cut in, like the Gladiators are the last team currently riding that fine line of playoffs cutoff.
And
Or
boy
maybe
did they
play in.
look
Sorry, that's play
bad.
in. Play
Yes.
in cutoff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chengdu's they're rocking the lower tier with my Titan Uprising lads currently. And so, well, Justice is there too. But it's always there's a lot of random teams down there. Toronto's there too.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
it's Chengdu is just like we were talking about. I'm rambling a bit. They're just so fun to watch. Even when they're losing, they're just kind of fun.
Yeah. They're my favorite team in that region. But I mean, there's a lot of other really great games that happened there. The Guangzhou Charge London game was kind of fun, but I believe like the Battle of Texas was probably one that a lot of people were looking forward to as well going into this weekend.
Yeah.
And I mean, a 3-2 win going over to Dallas. I assumed that a lot of people assumed that this was going to be a Houston victory, but Dallas
I
came out
predicted
to
them.
play. Came out to play.
It didn't look like they did at first, to be quite
Mm.
honest. But just Houston kind of was running away with it. They went up 2-0. And then, in true Texas fashion, things just guns were blazing. Things were going off the rails. It was a real hoop nanny,
Things got out of
and
hand.
things got
Yeah,
that really got out of hand fast.
got out of hand pretty quick.
I think yeah, I was watching the game and then it went to up 2-0 and I wasn't going to continue watching it, but I was being picked up at the end of like the I think as the fourth match was ending. I was like,
Hmm.
what the fuck is happening right now? I liked so many players on Dallas too, so like I wasn't that to blame, but I had picked Houston to win this game, so I wanted them to win. And
Yeah, no, of course, of course. But
and
yeah,
then oh my goodness me, they C9'd Patrick. They see like
yeah.
Dante and Blase were watching it while drunk. I think again this weekend they were drinking and watching it, and you can just see like Dante like on the couch is like just just dream. He sent like a long-winded message. That was like a song about the C9 to Blase.
Aw.
It's like I see it in my dreams.
Yeah, that the C9s that are happening nowadays are like pretty inexcusable, but it's because the teams are trying to play very different paces of games, like they're trying
Yeah,
to play at their tempo, but sometimes their tempo causes them to forget about touching the point.
it does.
But
It's happening a
Houston,
lot more of it recently than you think it would.
yeah.
There's so many times where it's like, oh, they didn't touch. It just happens more than it used to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And going into next week for the week 25, Toronto has only one game going up.
Yes,
What do you think about this one? I mean, it's going to be interesting against Philadelphia. It really depends on if Carpe shows up, Big C Carpe shows up, or Little C Carpe shows up.
yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think about this game coming up?
I am nervous because again, Philly was the team that got closest to beating Paris in the summer showdown in their best meta. Primarily, yeah, Carpe was about a beast, but it was also kind of off the bat of how kind of insane EQO is at Genji,
That's true.
and so I am nervous. Like agilities is good, but Toronto also got bodied by Philly in the summer showdown, and so I am nervous. Can they win this? Absolutely. Like no, I like to say nothing is impossible in Overwatch, as we've seen with Chengdu.
That's true.
But I don't know. I'm hesitant to say it's a win here because for every time if you look even at position by position, it's like, oh, we got agilities. He's great Genji. They have EQO, who's also, if not sometimes better than agilities on Genji. They have, oh, we have Kariv on Zen or on Floodsport, but they have Alarm. Oh, we have Logix. They have Carpe. And
Yeah,
so like every time you say something good about Toronto, Philly almost one ups it.
that's
And so
true.
it's going to be a very tough game for the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, and it's really going to be who gets the most value. If it's going to be that Genji v Genji, can agilities get more value than EQO? And arguably, those two Genji players are going to be placed pretty similarly in power rankings. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty even matchup. Toronto is pretty used to the mirror matchup with the Genji, and they look
Mm-hmm.
okay on it. They look pretty comfortable. But I think we should really take the Paris loss as kind of a measuring stick to what Toronto is capable of. And Philly is a Paris Eternal caliber team.
They're like
So
Paris light, essentially
yes,
now.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
like Diet Paris a bit.
Diet
At this
Paris.
very moment, the Philadelphia Fusion are Diet Paris
Yeah,
because
so,
they're great, but they're just not as great. And
exactly.
so if Toronto somehow beats Philly, that
Mm,
is a major upset in my
yeah,
eyes.
yeah. You can also taste greatness in them, but there's also something off. You know what I mean?
It's the aftertaste, you know.
It's
It's
the
just like,
aftertaste. Yeah.
oh. The first
Oh,
sip is the
that's a loss.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first sip is the Justice game. Oh,
Yeah.
I like this. Then the aftertaste is Paris. That's the
Yeah,
Paris.
exactly. Oh, there's so many
Got it.
other. Why don't I just get the original?
Yeah, I should have just gone with the other one. This is
Yeah,
so much better.
yeah. So we'll
But
see. I mean,
yeah,
do you have a prediction for this game?
I hate predicting 3-0s because it's so random map wins can happen. But I'm going to give Philly a 3-1 here, I think. I don't think it could be a 3-0 very easily. I hate to say it. We know everyone should know we're big Toronto supporters if that's not
Yeah.
abundantly clear. But we also have to be realistic at times. And I think Toronto is looking good right now.
Mm-hmm.
They still have some things to figure out in terms of coordination between like the tank lines and whatnot. Sometimes they get over their caught out position with over aggression. But so yeah, I think Philly's got this one because again, like we've mentioned, anything good you say about Toronto, you can almost say that better about Philly.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm nervous that you say anything but a 3-1. How about you? Well, Patrick, what are your thoughts on this game? I
So
ramble.
so 3-1 sounds pretty safe, and I agree. I think Philly looks better. They've performed better. They've played better games against better teams. So 3-1 sounds pretty fair, but I think I'm gonna have to say a 3-0 for
Mm-hmm.
Philly. I agree. I hate predicting 3-0s, especially against a team that is is me. That team are my boys out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to argue the facts, and it's hard to look at it rationally. Unrationally, I think it's going to be a reverse sweep, 3-2 for Toronto, but
I agree, 100%. We know it's going to happen. We just can't really say it too
I
much.
can't
So
say it, but we're all thinking it. That's what I'm
everyone in
thinking.
everyone in the Overwatch League's like, yeah, Philly's going to somehow take this to map 5. So and Toronto's going to win it. So
Yeah,
what are
so
you going
there's
to do?
no point. There's no point. There's no
There's
point.
no point even trying to play it, Philly.
The
You should
moment
just
the
stay
moment
home.
you speak it, that's the moment that it doesn't happen.
That's why we've been hesitant to say it, like just because we
Exactly.
know it's going to happen. We don't want to say it. It's like mentioning the Scottish play in the theater.
Yes.
You don't do it. Like
Yes.
Lin Manuel Miranda is insane. He's crazy. He does it all the time. But no, just don't do it. But
Exactly.
essentially, yeah, it's gonna be a Toronto win. We just don't want to say it, even though
Yeah.
we've already said it multiple times.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll have to find out next week. That'll be the July 26th, just coming up in a few days. But that brings us
Yes.
to the end of our podcast. And if you liked it, please consider subscribing to us on Spotify if that's where you're listening to us right now. We also post these as videos on YouTube, which is at Games My Guy One Word. And please come try and follow us on Twitter, which is at Games My Guy, which is curated by the lovely, the talented Ethan Doc Goose Butler.
Come yell at me.
Yes. Come interact with him, and
Please.
come interact
So
with him,
lonely.
and I'll check in every once in a while.
And just see my corpse
Yeah.
on our Twitter page.
Now I know everyone can hear the rain that is currently hitting my roof, but yeah, I'm not going to stop recording because this is the end of the podcast, so everyone's just going to have to put up with the rain.
It's
That's it.
ambient noise. They've already listened to they're gotten so hyped up, because our delightful voices. So now
Exactly.
is just now we just relax.
Yeah. Now we'll
We'll just
just
sit
take
here
you
with you
out.
guys for 2 hours while it rains. You don't
Yeah.
have to say anything. We're just gonna sit here and vibe.